live. This is so cool. I just have one comment. The other week, somebody sent me a comment and say, "Hey, do you only book good-looking couples?" Because every single week we see a good-looking couple. And yeah, absolutely. That's the only thing we do. No. We to attract good-looking couples.
Yeah, well, you guys can also chime in on your intro, but I just have to have a moment of the full circle of life, because a year and a half ago, Dillon, so this is Dillon and Morgan, but Dillon was one of the pivotal individuals, little did he know, that really catapulted us to write our third child, which is not a human being, but it is a book, Boundless Love. And he was the first person that he was like, well, what do you want to create with your book? And I was we want to decrease the divorce rate in the US by 50%. And you didn't think I was crazy. So I really just want to acknowledge and appreciate you for that, Dillon.
And it happened in this table. It happened in exactly in this table. So a warning for everybody who is watching live or non-live. Be careful when you talk to Dillon, because your dreams will come true.
It's called self-publishing school, y'all.
Self-publishing school. What a role. So welcome to Cafecito for Two. We're so honored and so grateful that you're here and that you make the time to be with us. So a quick intro. People that don't know who we are, they're flipping through their phone and bam,
I know. There. And then we're like popping out at them.
So what is Boundless Love? What do we do?
So we are Boundless Love. Our book that I showed you earlier is Boundless Love, Healing Your Marriage Before It Begins. And we have a ministry, a nonprofit ministry, where we encourage couples at every phase of their relationship to put God and faith at the center of their marriage. And what really inspired me to reach out to Dillon and Morgan today was to talk a little bit. We have a niece and nephew who I think you guys are millennials. I may even be wrong because I don't know the technical date end of that. We are clearly not millennials, but our niece is. And we've had some really meaningful conversations, not just with our niece, but with other couples who are younger than us and come through our ministry. And they really talk a lot about how there's some differences, right? In terms of generation, expectations, even the sacrament, but also the institution of marriage. And I'm sure y'all know, and this is something we kind of chatted about briefly, was that actually millennials are getting married less and later than most generations, sociologically speaking, and they're cohabitating more. So I just thought it would be cool to talk about that.
Sounds good. But before we do that, I just want to give a moment for Dillon and Morgan to introduce yourself. You work for an amazing company that makes
They've both done amazing things too.
I know they've done amazing things, but I mean, I don't know Morgan as well. Probably get to know her doing this. But Dillon, you work for self-publishing school, the school to go to if you want to be a self-publisher and make things happen. So I give you your intro there. You can go ahead and share with people who's watching that who this beautiful and amazing people are.
And you are from the Midwest. Morgan, are you from the Midwest too, or no?
Yeah, from Michigan.
No way, so am I.
So am I.
Okay, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, you're all.
Yeah. Originally from Michigan, and we met doing an internship called Southwestern Advantage, where we sold books door to door.
I love it.
Yeah, we did it at the time. Morgan had done it 3 years before me. I had this huge crush on her. I followed her in what we called the book.
She's all.
Exactly. It was literally, I had long hair. I had a bandana that I would wear.
Sorry.
He did not know I existed. And I decided to come back for a second summer to sell books solely to impress her. And I did. So I came back, did really well. And then the shoe was on the other foot. And she asked me out at the end of that second summer. We've been dating ever since. So after we sold books door to door, we did an internship, or we did a job. We were sales consultants for socially minded businesses in third world countries. So we lived in Africa for 3 years. We lived in Kenya. Wow. You were mostly in East Africa.
Yeah, I was stationed in East Africa.
And I was in Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and then like East and Southern Africa. So we lived in the middle of nowhere together. We just came back to Denver, was where we're living. We were scheduled to get married this year, but there's this thing called COVID that happened, and we have pushed it back to next year now, 2021. But currently,
it's better. It's gonna be all better. Better than that.
It's got a better ring to it, right?
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Totally. That is so awesome that you guys you've spent so much time. Quarantine's got nothing on you. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
We've lived in remote Africa, remote Tanzania, just the two of us.
Yeah, this is nothing.
So
we lived in a hotel room that was probably like 10 by 12 for 4 months. And we were the only people that spoke English in like a 2-hour radius.
So you guys need to be teaching marriage prep, clearly. Like, this is where it's at. And you're still together.
Go live out of a suitcase for 3 years.
Wow.
So Dillon, you're also a self-publisher, very successful as well.
Yes, I don't have my book around. The Happiness Gap: How to Achieve Success Without Focusing on Money, Fame, or Accomplishments. It was a bestseller in 2 subcategories, and I'm still selling that bad boy.
Excellent. Excellent. Great.
Nice.
And we will put some links on the comment section after the show. And also, I encourage everyone, if you're watching us live, we welcome any questions, any comment, no criticism whatsoever, everything good. So I'm kidding. You can post anything you like. I have a question. So you share with us, and thank you for sharing how you met and your internship in Africa. And during that time you were living together, and you said that you were living in a very small room. What are the strengths that you think that came out of that experience, that situation, that you can put in place now that you have postponed your plans to get married and you postponed it for 2021? What are the things that you look back and say, you know what, thanks to that, this is nothing. We can overcome anything.
Yeah. I'll go first. I'll give you my thoughts first. What do they say? Men first? No, I think
wait, what? Okay.
Very early into our relationship, I think we realized, like, hey, we want to get married, right? And then obviously it's like going to Africa. We weren't going to get married over there. We were there for 3 years, came back. But I'd say living in a hotel in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do, it's like, it's a vulnerable place. Like, you see everything with each other, like everything. You can't really go anywhere. It is literally a bedroom and then a bathroom, and that's it. It's a hotel room.
I also think I found a lot of strength in just being able to enjoy each other in the small things. Like, we would want to, on the weekends, take a moto to the local grocery store and like just blow all of our money on just like ciders and junk and and we had so much fun doing that. And so now we just have so much fun doing little things together.
Yeah, it's like you come back to the States after that has everything, and we can go enjoy the little things that are absolutely gorgeous, like a hike in the mountains of Denver. It's just wanting to be around each other. And I also feel once you see it all from somebody else living with them that close, it's like, I love you. You know what I mean? There is nothing you can do where I'm like, this I can't take. It's like you see every part. There's a lot of vulnerability and a lot of strength.
Yeah. Totally. I'm sure it gives you a lot of perspective too, right? Like, in terms of what your needs versus wants are, kind of like what is a crisis and what feels like urgency, but it might be like a false sense of urgency. You know what I mean? And like really managing that. I mean, I think the more time you spend together in any committed relationship, especially in marriage, but obviously you guys are honing and building this now, I think that is where it's at, is that you really do have kind of like a different dimension of what it means to like be present with one another and enjoy, like you said, even the simplest moments. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of couples, and we talk to a lot of couples, and I think the majority of the couples that we talk to, there's so many gifts during this quarantine time. They have got together and start doing projects There are couples that are starting to work out together.
Right.
They have a deeper connection with each other. They really get the essence of really spending quality time instead of jumping into a busy life or going out to dinner and a drink here and really planning a weekend that can be hectic. So we have seen couples that they literally told us we don't want to go back to the daily routine that we were doing. We want to stay what we're doing because they really see the meaning of connection as well. So that's one of the beauties that we have seen, right? Because at the beginning, a lot of people say, oh my God, there's going to be so many separation and people are going to break up and there's going to be divorce. And it's the other way around. I think we coming closer together than we ever been.
Yes. We just like being around each other without our kids. Yeah, unfortunately, our kids are still dependent on us. So,
too, right? So no kids yet. It's literally just us. It's funny you bring that up because we even made a lot of jokes early on of like, you see all the memes on social media of like, you're going to see divorce rates skyrocket. And we went in kind of knowing, we're like, hey, we're used to this. Like we did it in Tanzania, but like we probably tell each other 3 times a week, like we are crushing quarantine life.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
You are owning it. Like best quarantine ever. Right?
Ever. Of all time. Of my life, this has been the best, probably top, best quarantine in my life.
Well, you know what's so funny is that for me, like so much of my life as a mom of a 12 and 9-year-old, 2 girls, like is on the road. Like I'm a total glorified, and so is Javi. Like, don't get me wrong. We split the ship, but like so many, like I have gained years of my life back. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm reading, like, I think there's just so many gifts, right? That you can find in like when you literally have more space in your life. So that's so awesome that you guys already go into it.
Yeah, definitely a healing process,
So I'm just curious, like, since you guys are so unique and you're so worldly, and down to earth, like, what is your take on your generation? And like, I know Dillon, you and I were kind of chatting a little bit and you were talking about, well, and Morgan too, I know that you kind of weighed in around like, people, like what holds people back from getting married, do you think? And like, why is it that it's important to you? Because I think for some people, like you were saying or suggesting perhaps that like there's so many options that people become indecisive or like it's not necessarily as much of a cultural expectation. I'm just sort of kind of like interested in your insider, like peer-to-peer take on it.
Yeah. Me? Ooh, okay, me. I think you do. You even said it, when we started this, like a lot of people choosing this like cohabitating. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Living together. Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, that's just what they choose to do for the rest of their life. You have more people doing it. And I mean, I think it might work for some. I think I've seen it work before. We were talking about this on our front porch. We actually just had a band on the back of a trailer come through and they did a little show for our entire block.
Ooh.
Like, let's go out, watch this and just talk about this. And I think really what we came to is the fact that, cohabitating could work for people, but I think it's easy to be, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Probably sounds too aggressive. Maybe 2 feet in, but like a couple of toes out. But it's the fact that you still have an out. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Marriage, and it's like you're making a commitment that like, yeah, if I wanted to be this vagabond and just go throughout life by myself, that could be fun, that could be freeing, but that is a heavy burden to carry alone. It's like being able to go to someone and say, hey, this is tough. I'm going to be here to support you no matter what, thick and thin, for rich or for poor, better or worse. I'm here for you and I'm not going anywhere. And to kind of go into it with that mindset, I think it just builds a shit ton of strength,
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Morgan? Do you share the same take or like, what's your perceptions or thoughts around that? Like in terms of peers, do you feel like there is less interest in marriage or do you feel like it doesn't in your cohort? It's like not a big deal. Like it's not.
Yeah. So who I consider my peers, you know, the girls and the guys, the friends that I made in college and afterwards, and even before that, I'd say we're all in the same demographic where we're all almost reaching 30 or around 30. And we've just had this mindset since we were young that you should wait until your 30s to get married.
I love that.
My grandmother didn't get married until she was 30 or 31 back in 1940, 1950.
We didn't get married until our 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was
you remember that, right?
I do remember.
3 years ago, right?
I think a lot of
it's like, would you be like, what? Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of us, we watched our friends' parents get divorced or our own parents get divorced. When we went away to college, I can't tell you how many parents of my friends got divorced because they were like, kids out of the nest, cool, we're done.
That's deep.
Yeah, and so I think from my perspective of my generation, we didn't want to make those, not mistakes, but we wanted to have a choice. And to me, waiting to have a choice is huge, and a choice to get married. I don't know if marriage is the right answer for every couple, but I think the couples that want to make that commitment, for like a life partner, is huge.
Yeah, it should never be an obligation. You know what I mean? Like, we need to. You need to find someone that's like, damn, yes, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. My parents were actually never married. So growing up in that kind of arena and then still have
interesting.
Yeah.
Still not.
Next question.
Okay, sorry.
No. So both.
That's my social work vibe. I'm telling you, it's like X-ray vision. Sorry.
Following both kind of remarried, where my dad is married, but he's engaged, but will probably never be married, and then my mom married, recently divorced, but then back with her ex-husband and married again. So that's my situation. I'm Dylan.
Got it.
And with all
it's funny because I think it's so inspiring to me that you say that, Morgan, because I'm 48 and I feel like in my generation, so I graduated high school in 90, I graduated high school in 94, and Javi's like 89, so he's like just 1 year before. We're only 6 months apart, but still. And I still felt, and I think it was more internalized, just socialized crap, basically, that I still felt like a pressure to get married. Do you know what I mean? But I just acted out and rejected it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I lived in New York City. My joke is that my 20s were Sex in the City with a lot less sex, but whatever. And so I had this whole period of in this hobbies all. Wait, what? What are you talking about? So anyhow, it's not that. It's really okay. Anyhow, so this is the Truth Serum edition, everyone. So anyhow, what happened was I was unconsciously rebelling. You know what I mean? Or I'm sure I was somewhat conscious, but I do feel like in that very much Gen X, it was still kind of detoxing. Do you know what I'm talking about? That mentality and and you're talking about expectation and obligation and this is what you do and da-da-da. And what was so cool is that for Javi and I, when we met in our early 30s, we had traveled so much and had, very three-dimensional careers. And Javi was very much dude, I'm going to be a dad and I'm going for I'm going to adopt a kid if I need to as a single dad.
I was filing to, I was putting my financials together so I can be a single dad. I'm I just be a single dad.
You just were I don't need no lady.
Yeah.
So I think you get to a place of can you, you're talking about, are you arriving at this wholeheartedly and from 100% choice, right? And I think that's what you're talking about too, is Dylan is that's the only way you can fully be in, right? The full commitment of no matter what, I'm fully in and there is no back door here. And this is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
And I just want to point out, I think you have a really good point, Dylan, is you can live together, but you don't show the same commitment, right? Where you're like, okay, I want to get married to this person. I guess your attitude, everything goes towards that commitment and makes it better. Because I think marriage, when you talk about marriage, it's a very interesting dance. We tell couples that you are married as many years as you are with your wife.
You get
right?
married again
every year because we all change and life change and things change, and it's. But I think the fun that we encourage couples to do is just be a pioneer, really design a future that is not the typical traditional. All right, we have kids, and then we take care of the kids, and then we empty nesters, and then we just sit down on the porch and drink sweet tea, and then all right, and then we go to retirement home. I think it's more of, and that's a very dark picture.
Yeah, that's a really depressing. Wow.
But it's more of be a pioneer. I think you gotta be very like wild heart, right? Love strong.
That's right,
be wild heart, and just plan for that. And you guys have it, obviously, because you have experienced that at the beginning, right? Especially living in Africa. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that's so interesting too, that you can, and thank you. I really appreciate you, Dylan, being open about that in terms of your own background, because I do think we learn a lot from the people around us. Right. And so like, whatever that means, but, I think it's really cool to examine like our choices all the time. Right. And like in the beginning of our marriage, I feel like Javi and I had very different roles. And now I feel like we have been reinvented, like in terms of, Javi's more at home now. He works from home. He's kind of like the alpha dad, where I'm like more outwardly focused. Obviously not in quarantine, but in any case, like, and it's just shifted where when we first met, he was traveling like 60% internationally. So it's just like crazy how things can twist and turn. And I think that's so awesome that you have that, already as a precedent in your relationship, having to like go through all these different environments. I think it's just going to be such a huge asset for you guys.
And I also think, thank you. I also think that should be like a lesson for anyone. Like, I don't know how many, like, if the audience you're reaching right now is a younger demographic, but if you have the mindset, like you're talking about, Javi, going into a relationship where this is going to be amazing 100% of the time, and I'm going to marry someone and it's just going to be nothing but rose-colored glasses 100% of the time. Number one, you're fooling yourself. Number two, that is boring. Like, that is a very boring life. Like, I talk to people, like, if you want everything to be highs all the time,
yeah,
like, you have ups and downs. If you just want it high all the time up here, you're flatline. Like, that is dead.
Yeah.
Like doctors say, that is dead, right? You got to have ups and downs. And then you just got to find someone where you want to be like, yeah, I do want to go through tough times with you. And I think that's something that Morgan and I have had. Mm-hmm. We've done really well, where it's like, even in the down times, we understand it's like, hey, we're going through these down times for a reason. What can we learn here?
Even in year 6 of our relationship, even after we got engaged, coming back to America from living in East Africa was very tough. Like, the transition back was really tough on us individually, on our relationship. And we made the decision that, we want to make it through this tough time together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was,
I think
what was the biggest challenge, Morgan? Was it the culture shock, or what was it like? Just feeling like, why? I mean, I've lived abroad too, and whenever I came back, I felt like I had to redefine my identity. Like, I just felt like I was in a total identity crisis.
Yeah, we could have a whole nother session just on America.
What are you guys doing next week?
They're coming back.
That's a dinner.
Back.
That's part 2.
That's it. They're coming back.
Yeah, the identity part really speaks to me, at least. Our family was all in Michigan. We moved back to Colorado and just kind of like picked up our life where we left it 3 years prior, because we lived in Denver before we moved to Kenya. And I just didn't feel like the same person, just all the same stuff, all the same roles, just a completely different person. So I think it took time to find ourselves together again.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. Like, Javi's from Spain, and I've lived in Spain, and we go back there quite, you know, fairly frequently because we have family there. And he's really good. I mean, obviously you've been in the States since you were 13. And so I feel like he's much better at adapting, but I'm always like sobbing, like I have a much harder time. Like, I don't want to leave Spain. You know what I mean? Like and then I kind of go through like a mini depression when I get back, and like, it takes me, you know, longer to sort of adjust. And I'm freaking American. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I just have a harder time. So I'm sure it's on a smaller scale, but I can totally relate. Like those big environmental changes are deep. I didn't mean to cut you off earlier. Sorry, Dylan. If I did.
No, I don't think you did. No, I was listening. What was been in my head is, I think this kind of comes back to the whole thing of, you know, if you're just going to go into a relationship as we can cohabitat, you kind of have a foot out the door. However, if you are like living together before marriage, I think it does take this marriage mindset. You know what I mean? Where you don't have to have a physical ring on your finger to be like, okay, we're married, so now is when we start. It's like, you got to realize, like, hey, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, like, through thick and thin. This is going to start now if we're going to make this big decision, right? It's like when we're going across the world to live in Africa, we're not going to be like, okay, you have your, like, we live together. But it's a marriage mindset of how we wanted to tackle it. Like, I'm not going anywhere. She's not going anywhere. Hopefully I won't speak for you.
He's like, right? You're like, hold on, we need to take 10. Hold on a second. No, I'm just kidding.
Can we mute ourselves real quick? No, I'm kidding.
We were right back.
So, what was it like for you guys delaying? Did you have to delay your actual wedding, or like, was it a thing, or was it still kind of like amorphous and it wasn't like, oh, I have to call, like, or is it like, hey, we're calling this off?
Yeah, no, we send out the new save the dates and like are moving the entire thing. We already have all the deposits down, and we're so lucky that all of our vendors immediately were just like, if you want to change your dates, here's the process, no fees. So
that's awesome.
A conflicting decision to make, but in the end, it didn't really feel like we had a choice to do it, because if we did it, it wouldn't have the same feeling. It wouldn't be what we imagined it being.
Yeah, because that's actually one of the questions, you know, you were talking to us about. I think it was Christina. You know, when you were saying, it's like, how do you view a wedding, right? I think number one, this comes back to the marriage mindset. Like for us, it's like, no, we know what we really want. Like, I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. If this has to wait a year, it can wait a year. Mm-hmm. I'm basically married to you right now. But like having a wedding, I know a lot of people, it's like they don't do a big wedding. It's like cheaper now. That's totally fine. But how we would look at it is, you know, a wedding is a celebration of love. You know, this is a fun celebration of people that we are going to lean on when times get tough and say, hey, you are the people that we care about. Not only is this a celebration of us, it's a celebration of you guys with us.
That's right. Yeah. They're witnessing your marriage, right? That's a community. It's a community experience. Yeah.
It's one of the, it's actually one of the traditions, because we were talking about different traditions of places we've lived, wanting to incorporate that into our wedding, right? Africa, Southeast Asia, back here in the States, we want to incorporate different like cultures, like what they do for their traditions. And we want to pretty much pass around our rings where the people in attendance can kind of pass their blessing off to it. Well, I'm not going to have you do that if you be 6 feet apart and toss my ring to each other. We want this to be a communal. We want this to be a communal thing. You guys are with us. This is just as much about you guys.
It's so not COVID-19, okay? But all right, I'll work with it. No, just kidding. We're like California. I have a hippie heart. Like that's how I got here. So I'm all like, I just had a fit about like, I'd be that freak at your wedding that would be, everyone would be like, you still have to wear a mask. And I'm like, no, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm hanging out in the corner. Like I'll be, So good thing I'm not invited.
Right now.
What's that?
I'm going to hug Morgan and Dillon right now because
yes,
I don't care. What would you tell you know, this Sunday we're doing, what is it, 14 couples that we are
that are engaged.
They're engaged and we're doing marriage preparation for them. What will be I guess we did a questionnaire and we asked them how COVID-19 has affected you. And obviously wedding plans was one of them. And the other one was their relationship. That was the second
and
most.
Finances.
And finances was the third. But it was obviously the wedding plans, right? The obvious. But the second one is their relationship. So what would you, I mean, you're beautiful couple. You can see there's a beautiful connection between you two.
Very grounded.
A lot of strength coming from both of you. What would you suggest? Or what advice would you give them that they're going through these times? And obviously is the unknown, right? Because people don't know when exactly they can have that wedding where we all hugging each other and crying in each other's shoulders, right? Out of joy.
I guess for me, there's logic and emotions to every decision, no matter what. It's finances, your wedding, living together in an apartment if you are, or a house by yourself, that you have to look at things logically in times like this. Like emotion, best of you if you make your decisions based off of just emotion alone. So I'm a huge believer in looking at it and talking about the logic, not just your emotions.
Okay.
You know, a marriage can be extremely emotional, you know, but also the logic behind it is it's going to be tough. Like, yeah, this is a curveball, but do we think this is going to be the only curveball of our marriage? Like you're going into it, like you said, right? You're going into this abyss. Well, guess what? That's also what marriage is. If this is your first, you know? And what do you get? Like, who are you going to lean on? What are you going to lean on when you do go into any dark abyss place, right? You're going to lean on, as you guys would say, you're going to lean on faith and you're going to lean on each other. So why not have a perfect test leading into that?
Yeah.
And also after when you need it, I think that's something we've done really well in our relationship is we go to our community, our tribe, our people, our therapists, or whoever we need to talk, have an outsider viewpoint, and not just rely on ourselves.
Yeah, that's so healthy.
That's so beautiful.
I know you guys are so mature.
I don't know.
I think I would have a temper tantrum initially.
And you know what, Dillon? I don't have Tylenol. I don't have Tylenol PM here, so I don't know. I'm gonna have a hard time going to bed because you fully energize us. We're like, oh, hold on, we're married. Oh, we don't have to get married, but you give us what you just say is such a glimpse. It goes far beyond hope. It's such a mature way of seeing things with a lot of strength and really kind of flipping and saying, hey, we're going to have a marriage together. You guys
are like the testimony for, in a lot of ways to me, I feel like we can hold up for our girls. Like Javi always says to them, don't get married till you're 30. That's the, and I'm all like, guys kind of suck until they're 30. Like I'm already like programming them. Like, I know, I'm sorry, Dillon. Or Isabel came back from camp one year and she's all, yeah, Mom, my camp counselor kind of agreed with you. She told me like, I'm going to middle school and she told me like all the boys are total idiots and there's no reason to like even pay attention to them. And then she keeps coming back to it. She's like, Mom, I can't believe it's so true. But I think you guys are living out this like just very measured, much more conscious and awake. And grounded. Yeah, super, super grounded. And I really like commend you because I think, I don't know, maybe we're just like two Dobermans and we're very excitable and hyper people, but I admire that in both of you, that you can kind of like take that perspective. And I think you're right. You leverage this time to your advantage in a lot of ways. Like, I think you're just actually building yourselves up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, we're coming to the end. 34 minutes, 34.
I know it goes really fast.
But I just want to say a couple things.
Javi's our closer.
I'm a closer. No, I'm not a closer. I think I'm an opener. But we're so grateful to have you, Dillon and Morgan. We really are. I think you add more to our ministry, Boundless Love. And Dillon, you are part of our life, our journey. And once again, I highly recommend Self-Publishing School.
SPS.
SPS. Talk to Dillon. I mean, if you have a book, make it. Also buy his book. And we are so grateful to have you here. Once again, I know I'm repeating myself and again with praises, but what you just share means so much to us because we don't have all the answers, right? And absolutely not. But at the same time, I do believe that
is clearly the truth.
I do believe that the collective, right? Other people that come together and share their experience have the answer for you. So
yeah, and I think it's so important to demystify, right? Like all of these things around engagement and marriage. And because for me, you know, Javi's like the most important person in my life. And of course I adore and love my children and my family, but he, like you said, he's like my partner of all things. And so I just think it's so important to be able to have these kind of conversations, right? And keep it real and remember sort of like you guys have, like, what are we really in this for and who are we serving, right? And it does suck many a time. Like there's I mean, we have countless moments. Like we didn't actually have a temper tantrum before this live session, but sometimes we just act out before we have to like get it together. But we just
so good.
Yeah, like we were joking last week with the couple who's been married. Les actually commented, "Love you, Les." Les and Heatherly. Yeah, they're from Austin. They were like, yeah, we just have the same fights about the same things, but we were all laughing because we're like, yeah, but they're just shorter and in duration, frequency, and intensity. So you kind of just like go down those same rabbit holes, but then you're like, oh yeah, whatever. And like you move on. So it's so true. It's kind of like you have those moments of like total friction, but you kind of become a little Jedi-like with each other about it.
That's right. So thank you once again. So everyone that is watching us, thank you again. We're back next Friday. 6:30.
No, 6.
6.
It's okay.
6.
We have so many gigs, you know. It's like
cool. and I think we're going overseas next Friday. Are we?
I don't remember.
I know we have a couple that we're going to talk to in Thailand. So
yes.
We're very excited.
They're in Thailand.
They're in Thailand. So we're going to have an international.
Their morning, our night.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So thanks for watching. Thank you, Dillon and Morgan. Any final words you want to say?
Wow.
This is me showing you.
She's like, no pressure. Hello.
Being earlier, now I'm going ladies first.
I don't know. Just be true to yourself and just find joy in who you are, and your partner will find joy in you as long as you find joy in yourself.
So true.
Beautiful.
Amen.
Me.
Dylan. Sorry.
Fuck. Balance is a thing. You know, bad times make the good times good. Good times make the bad times bad. You need both. Stick it through. Make that commitment.
And if you reproduce or choose to, that becomes extremely evident quite quickly. Just saying. No.
But I think we're gonna have our third book out. We're gonna have our third book out. So Dillon, our third book is coming out. By the time you have kids, so you'll
Okay. You guys are gonna write a forward, so just let you know.
We're in. I'll be on the launch team. Anything from you guys, I'm excited to read, excited to learn from. Thank you so much for having us too. Seriously.
Big hugs and kisses.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, what's out? Where is the?
Woo!